He was very abusive to the point where I would get beaten or thrown against the wall or yelled at, screamed at, or laughed at. One night when we were playing outside when it was raining, he tried to rape me, and then my brother was supporting it, and that was the last time I saw my mom. And I remember, I was like, I want that. I want that love. I want that security. I read this book in the orphanage, and it was read in a little kid's Bible. It was a Russian and English version, and it talked about short stories about Jesus. And I remember reading it, and I was like, I really like this guy. I really like this guy. And I just became more curious, like, who is this guy? And when they said, go say goodbye to your brother, I said bye. And he walked out, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for it. As I walked out, I ran out, and I said, well, I'm gonna miss you, but I'm gonna help you. He's like, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. It was hard. So my name is Sabrina, and I would like to share a little bit of story about my life and what God has done. I was born in Russia and raised there with my birth parents. My mom was what I thought was a normal mom. My dad I didn't get to see very often when I was growing up. I was living in the streets a lot, and I was playing a lot activities outside my home. My home was basically on the streets. If not, I was with my grandparents. My brother and I got mischief a lot, to the point where we'll go to landfills or we go to a trash field to look for toys. I would lay between the train tracks and let the train go over me. I would basically do everything that my brother wanted to do, and I was the only girl. I didn't know what the new norm was. My norm was my mom was alcoholic. She will sleep with other men, and I knew about it. I was young at that time. My dad was a military. He was very abusive, to the point where I would get beaten or thrown against the wall or yelled at, screamed at, or laughed at. One of my family members one night when we were playing outside when it was raining, he tried to rape me, and then my brother was supporting it. My dad found out, he couldn't figure out why I was wet, and the boy that was trying to rape me told me not to say anything, and I knew I couldn't say anything because my dad will beat me. So I made up a lie saying, hey Dad, I'm sorry, I just peed my pants, it was in an accident. So that night was very awkward, and 2 days later my brother tried to attempt the same thing in our house apartment. To me, that was the norm for yelling and the beating and the abusing. It wasn't normal for somebody trying to sexually abuse you. But it became a new norm in my head. I later on learned that my dad was sentenced to Chernobyl when the Chernobyl incident happened. He was first one of the groups to go out there. He was in Chernobyl, and within the 2 days that he was there, he got such bad radiation poisoning they had to send him home. So his alcoholism became his way of controlling his pain, which I did not know. So one night, I hanged out with a lot of my parents. So one night my mom said, hey, have a good night. When Dad comes home, if he shows up, just hide underneath the bed and just hold on to that bed so that way he doesn't hurt you. I was faced underneath the floor, underneath the metal bed on the far right, and my brother was on the left side. My dad came home drunk, started beating my brother. I freaked out with a panic, so I tried to stop it. My dad picked me up. Next thing I know, he threw me against the wall, and I came unconscious. By the time I came back to normal. The cops came and stripped, basically said, we're taking you guys, you're ready to go. So we went to my mom's apartment, and we were trying to pack what we had, but we had nothing. I was placed in the bus, and that was the last time I saw my mom. My dad was the last time image I had was when he threw me against the wall. So we went to orphanage. The last orphanage I ended up staying, and I was on the second floor. My brother was on the first floor. He had the proper education, but he was the only one that I could cling on because he was my safe zone. Even though whatever he did, he was still the person I looked up to for comfort. And when the time came, he went to the big orphanage across the street where you had dorms for the kids to stay in while you're in the building with the kids. And I ended up transitioning to the first floor where he was. I stayed there. I met some friends. I met a friend of mine named Luba, because my name was Luba at the time. Her name was Luba. We got together, but she was hard-headed, and I was the soft one. And we just built a relationship, and we had a good time. I remember one day there was a family that came, and this little girl was so happy to see a family adopting her. And I remember, I was like, I want that. I want that love. I want that security. And the lady came up to me. She's like, what's wrong, Luba? And I was like, I want that. I want that little girl happy. She's happy. I want to be happy. And she's like, you want to be adopted? And I said, yeah. But I didn't know what adopted meant in my head. I was only 7. That to me, I don't know. I just wanted that family. Time went by. I found out my dad ended up passing away. They wouldn't tell me why he passed away. Later to find out, he ended up jumping over front of a car and let the car run over him because he just couldn't handle the pain. And knowing the fact that I was gone and my brother was gone, so it was hard for him. And then I started leading to this. I read this book in the orphanage, and it was read in a little kid's Bible. It was a Russian and English version, and it talked about short stories about Jesus. And I remember reading it, and I was like, I really like this guy. I really like this guy. And I just became more curious, like, who is this guy? And that's when I got the orphanage. Let's go to church. Can we go to church? What is church? So their church is Catholic. So we'll go, and they would tell you who to pray for, and you got to pray for this person to reach to Mary, and then you talk to Mary, and Mary would talk to Jesus. So I was like, okay, I will pray for those things. And we did. We went to church pretty constantly. And I remember praying on my knees at nighttime, saying, Lord, I really want to be adopted. Lord, I really want to be adopted. While all the kids are sleeping, I would stay up and I would just pray. And one night I went to bed and I had this dream. This dream started with this couple who came and picked me up. I walk in the door and I open that door, and their faces and how excited I was and how excited my brother was. It was just the perfect beginning of a new beginning. And this dream started to change while I got to America. Things started to happen. And I just started to be in this dream, and I was like, Lord, what is happening? What is happening to my life? I asked for this, but you're ruining my life because this dream is giving me my future. And at the end of the dream, I just remember I was in the middle of a road, two-way road. There was trees. And I remember yelling at God. I was like, why did you do this to me? And God's like, I have something better. I could not wake up that morning. So we had a bunch of kids get some water and throw a bucket of water in my face to wake me up. And I woke up, and that's the first thing came out of my mouth. I said, I'm going to be adopted. I'm going to be adopted. They're like, no, you're not. I was like, no, I'm going to be adopted. This is going to happen. And they're like, no. I was like, okay. As time went by, I went to the other side of the school, and I learned second grade. Got to see my brother a little bit. He had his friends, I had my friends. And one day the orphanage came back and said, Luba, today is the day for you to meet the family. I'm like, what family? They're like, we're going to get you ready. We're going to get you prepped. You're going to go take a shower. Because at that time in orphanage, you only had a shower. Our showers were on Saturdays. And we didn't get clothes. The only thing we had to do was rotate our underwear every day. If we use them, we wash them. And so I felt like I was royalty that day. I got my little skirt. I got my little blouse. I got my nice shoes. And as I was walking in, and I told my brother, like, this is our family. This is our family. I opened that door, and sure enough, it's like that dream just hit me right in the face. The exact family with the same look. And I was like, I don't want to sit with them. And my best friend Luba was being adopted at the same time. So I ended up choosing to sit with her parents and with her brother. And Luba sat with my brother, with the family I didn't want to sit. And I just didn't want to sit there. And Crystal, I remember Crystal asking, are these siblings related? And the ladies go, no. She said, switch. So I remember switching, and I was like, I don't want this family, but I'm going to accept them because they're adopting. Maybe it's just a dream that just went really wrong. It started out great within the 2 days. And next thing you know, Crystal said, what are those kids on the other side? What ages are those? And they said, what's newborn to up to 6 years old? She's like, I want to go over there. So she dragged me. We walked over there. And as we walk in, she saw this little blonde boy who was almost 3 years old. And she said, this one, I want this one. And I didn't have to understand what was going on. I just knew. But I was like, I have a brother. Because in my mind, I'm expecting for me to be adopted at the same time as my brother and this little boy now. She spent so much time with that little kid. And I just felt like, where was my place? Where was me? Where was the love that you're giving him that you can't provide for me? And as time went on, the orphanage was saying, they can't afford your brother. They're going to adopt Joshua. And my heart sank. So, our last night, and I knew it was coming, Crystal opened up this suitcase. I had a whole bunch of new clothes. And as she opened up, I was like, I don't want these clothes, but I want these clothes. And I remember when they said, go say goodbye to your brother, I said bye. And he walked out, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for it. As I walked out, I ran out, and I said, well, I'm going to miss you, but I'm going to help you. He's like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It was hard. But now I have a new family. I have a new brother that I have to adjust. As time we went to Moscow, they had to physically evaluate me, make sure I was healthy. And we went to Texas. So my flight was very long. By the time we got to Texas, I was wearing leggings, a skirt, a long sleeve, and Texas was like over 100 degrees. It was summer. And Crystal remembers, she's like, you sure you want to check up your clothes before we hit outside? Because she was trying to use the dictionary. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. And as I walked in, I was like, this is hot. This is hot. And it became the new norm. Joshua got the attention. I remember pulling in our driveway, and the house was massive. I felt like I was in a royalty house. It had a wraparound white porch It was a white house, bunch of lots of land. They had goats. They had a little garden going on. I was like, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna turn out good. And then I walk in. I get treated with my grandparents. Massive stuffed animal. I was tired, so Crystal's like, let's go show you your bed. So I walked in. I had this white bed, and it's massive. You have to like jump on it. And she's like, pick your PJs. I was like, what is a PJs? So I picked my PJs. It was this white, it was pink Cinderella dress. And I went to bed that night. That night, Crystal and Jesse had a fight. Crystal slapped Jesse in the face. I ran back in my room. And I remember just locking the door in panic. And Crystal was like, open the door, open the door. And I was afraid, here we go again, I'm going to get beaten. And I didn't. It was a lot of miscommunication. I just went back to bed that night, scared but unsure. As time went on, it started great. Joshua started getting more and more attention, which I understood because he was little. And then it started to, Sabrina, Carolee, my name was Carolee, it was changed to Carolee. Carolee, you broke this. I'm going to spank you. What is a spanking? Crystal grabs a rubber belt, 2 of them sometimes, and would just spank my butt naked. And she would just whip me. And to my mind, that was abuse. Like, what is a spanking? What is your definition of being? What are you trying to teach me here? And she's like, we spank because this is how we teach obedience to our kids. I said, okay. It became so much. I remember going to school, and I said, Lord, I can't live like this. I just can't. And I remember I was on the hill, and then God's voice was literally, I was about to become suicidal. I was 9 years old. And I said, I'm going to take my life right here, right now. I'm just going to call it a day. I walked, as I was walking, and God's like, it's like you and I were speaking. He said, I have something better for you. Stop. Stop. I have something better for you. And I was like, what? And I remember, I was like, okay, I'll stop. And I remember asking the kids, like, did you hear that big voice? Really loud voice? Did you just stop? They're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And as time went by, I remember it just didn't get better at the house. I was failing in school because she just got frustrated. I was running behind because I didn't know what I was supposed to learn, because 9 years old, I was in 2nd grade level. And I'm getting switching for everything I'm doing wrong, or everything that I was doing was basically wrong. And I said, you know what? One night I was like, you know, if I get up in the middle of the night and just stab myself with a couple knives, maybe that would do it. And God's like, no, just wait. And I was like, you know, okay. And then one day I was like, you know, I'm going to say I'm hearing and seeing things. Because I wasn't lying. I technically heard of God's voice. So I was like, Crystal, I'm hearing and seeing things. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I hear things. I see things. She's like, what kind? I was like, well, I hear people talk, and I see ghosts. She's like, okay. So at that time we moved to Georgia, because Jesse had a job transferred to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. So we picked a house and we stayed there, and I said, I'm hearing and seeing things. So she sent me to a mental institute, because that's what they advised her to do. I saw a bunch of psychiatrists. I had one just like, I see it, I understand it, but I can't help you. You're a minor. But all the psychiatrists like, no, she's dangerous. She's a murderer. She's gonna kill Joshua. And it became so natural that it became my new norm. And one day I was outside. Joshua was scared of the deck because the deck was pretty tall. And she's like, bring Joshua down, while she was gardening. I said, okay. So I went up the stairs. So Joshua threw a tantrum, and I was trying to grab him without him falling over. So I touched just gently at the edge of the deck where I knew I had him, but he wouldn't fall over. In her mind, she thought I was gonna flip him over the deck, but it was actually happening on the stairway. And she's like, "You're gonna kill him, aren't you? You were just gonna kill him. I knew you were gonna kill him. Just say it." And I was like, "No, I wasn't. I wasn't gonna kill him. You asked me to bring him down. I was following your instruction." She's like, "No, you were gonna kill him. I promise you, you were gonna kill him." And I eventually looked at her and said, "Yes. If this is what you want to hear," I said yes. And things just went by fast. I didn't know what psych patient is. I didn't know what a psych patient was supposed to do. I don't know what psych patient, period. So I started getting a bunch of meds. I got to the one point where they set me out with another family in the countryside. And they said, "She's perfectly fine. I don't know what the problem is." So Crystal got jealous because she couldn't convince them. And then she ended up taking me back. And then next thing you know, I get filmed at 48 hours. 40 hours come, Crystal said while we were filming, we went back to Russia. And Crystal said, at one point where we're in the hotel room, "Get out. Just get out. I don't want you. Just get out." It was cold, it was winter, it was ice. I was literally about to walk out, and Jesse said, "No, we had to finish this through." And finished the 48 hours. As they left, I knew they weren't coming back. And that's when Nina Korstina came back, who's the orphanage. She said they re-signed the papers, "You're an orphan again." Came back, got me out, and then I get readopted at 12. Same situation, just it's making them look better than what the situation's going on. The only change happened was my sister, Chris, was saved. And she looked at me and she's like, "I'll take her in. Don't send her out to a facility. I'll take her in with my 2 kids." And her husband, they were young, they were 28. And as we go, and she's like, "You ain't gonna kill him. You're just a broken child who needs love and Jesus." And Barbara was like, "No, she's gonna kill him. She's gonna kill those kids. She's psycho. She's gonna kill him." And at 16, I got saved. And I did more missionary work for 2 years in Africa. And I met my husband when I was 25. And yeah, it's been a long journey, but God's been through each one of them. And not without a fail that I look back and say, "Oh my God, Lord, why'd you do this?" It's more like you build me, you shape me, and you mold me to where I am today. And I am more grateful to seeing that. Yes, it's hard for me to see kids being kids because I don't know what that normal is. And my husband does remind me. But I'm beyond blessed compared to where I was. And would I change it? No. I would never change it. I would encourage people to push through their hard times and rely on God. Seek Him, because He is the provider. He's the comfort. He's the peace that you're looking for. And He will follow through.